Today I'm going to meet Dustin for a short interview in here at the old Woodwards building, the downtown east side. And we're going to have a bit of time together where Dustin reads something that he wrote recently that I thought was really interesting, as well as just ask him a few brief questions. I did meet him once before at the artist studio downtown, and we decided we'd do a fuller interview with a longer one to come. So this is just going to be a few questions and a reading with Dustin. Hi Dustin.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much.
So thank you so much for being willing to meet again and read the article that you wrote the other day that I thought was pretty interesting, and you were willing to share with us. So
yeah, I wrote this on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. It's a part of my recovery story, and I just like to share something vulnerable to social media once in a while, and this is what I came up with. I'm extremely blessed to have made it to where I am today. I have worked extremely hard to transcend where I am today, 5 months and 1 week from being a dim flicker of light covered in mucus, alone, asleep, and in front of a 7-Eleven in Yaletown as a security guard threw out the remainder of all I owned in the garbage. My clothes, my art supplies gone. Unshowered for months, 120 pounds, 10 of those dirt no doubt, and that was all for over 4 years of my life. Homeless, addicted, and still held love and light in my heart. But every time I slept, I would wake up with everything gone and the love and light just a little dimmer. I remember 2 Christmases ago, I was beaten unconscious by 2 construction workers and thrown into a garbage bin within attempt to die. I have overdosed over 18 times. I've saved lives and had been saved by both God and man. At least every bottom had a hand for me to grab. Let me say that there is more good in this world than bad. I am humbled and honored to be alive within this beautiful world. I have the gift of today and the beautiful lessons of what I have learned in that time. Gifts I've been given from people who had nothing and kept me alive and safe. Today I'm 154 pounds, over 5 months sober, 2 months off of Suboxone, and my experience is being documented on film for a documentary where I'm being paid for my time, and when it's done, I will be doing my first gallery showing of my art. I'm going to go to school to become a counselor. I found a new illustrator for my kids' books. I'm writing music and performing live again. And half of everything I do is mindfully done in the service of others. I enthusiastically embrace each day. Let me be clear though, I'm not on a pink cloud. I feel a lot of grief and sadness for all I have lost. I struggle every day to let my feelings just be. But I don't judge, blame, point fingers at others or myself. I wake up every day and choose love, so I feel profound joy, happiness, and gratitude. Let me say every breath counts and every step matters. Every interaction with everyone, including myself, is laid with the intention of holding safe and sacred space. I think I'm able to hold that space because I know the difference between free will and free choice. In my 42 years of life, I see the mistakes I've made is only because I've never accepted the path I was on and wanted to be on another one. That's where I became powerless, and that's when my life became unmanageable. When I decided to accept the path I was on, I could change my beliefs, thoughts, and actions on that path. That's when my life began to change. That's when my path started to look and feel different. That's when my hopes, wishes, and dreams stopped feeding into my self-destructive world of illusion, denial, and selective reality. But instead, they are just starting to fall into place. And even though I've worked hard to get to the here and now, it's truly been a labor of love to begin to understand that everything in life is truly effortless. And this is just a picture of me 3 months after the day in front of the same 7-Eleven.
all right. 3 months after the day of
Being covered in mucus in front of the 7-Eleven.
Thank you. I really appreciate that story a lot. I feel we can all learn from those words, and
Thank you very much.
Understanding the experiences of people like you that go through these challenging things. And now I'm going to ask you a number of questions just to follow this up. First, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Queensborough, Surrey, New Westminster area. I was born in Calgary. I only lived there 6 months. And when we moved to the Queensborough, New West area, we moved around a lot because there was a lot of partying and alcoholism, which meant a lot of eviction. And at the age of 9, my mom drew up the courage to leave my dad and start her life over. And from that point, I moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, where my life started to stabilize. And I've been pretty much living in Vancouver ever since.
And you're now out of a violent household.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. And then fast forward a whole bunch of years. I'm just wondering what led you to a place where you were homeless for 4 years, you say, or 5? And so sort of what led to that, and then after that, use of substances.
Well, when I became homeless, I was already 5.5 years clean and sober. I'd gone through recovery before that, but I was seeing my son regularly, but my son's mom made it very adamant that if I missed one visit that I'd never see him again. And unfortunately that happened, and I got into a negative thinking state, and I sort of had a vision of me walking across Canada and understanding what homelessness was. So part of that was to become homeless. And in my first 3 months of being homeless, I was asked to move so much, had my stuff repeatedly taken, and I decided to start taking methamphetamines to stay awake. And amphetamines led eventually to an opiate addiction, and that led to a very long struggle on the streets. My plan was to be there for 1 year, and it ended up being nearly 5 years.
All right. So you had the homelessness then on the streets and the opiate addiction, and then you eventually decided to go into recovery, and you're in recovery right now?
I am in recovery right now. I'm at Harbor Light Treatment Center at 119 East Cordova Street.
Okay, and it's going well?
It's going extremely well.
And you plan to go through a number of different stages to get through to what comes, how does the stages go?
The first stage is 90 days, and that's the basic treatment program. And the second stage is a 2-month program of just basic living skills. And then 3 months, the third stage is the beginning of aftercare, which is another 2 months. And then second stage living, which is separate than phase 2, is living semi-independently for 18 months. And then from then on, I live by myself.
And so you think all those stages are, for a lot of people, could be sort of adequate?
Oh, absolutely.
What's needed? What's required for a lot of people to get to be doing well on their way after that?
It takes a lot of willingness and involvement in a sobriety-based community, because addiction is, I would like to classify it a disease of loneliness and isolation that says you don't have a disease. There is a mental phenomenon of craving that goes along with it, where people who don't have addiction can stop, or if they start having problems, just abstain. Where people with addiction, they say in the program, 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So there's that component to it. But it really takes one admitting the powerlessness to the addiction, and then getting connected to a sobriety community and working a solid program.
All right, good. Okay, so just to wrap this up now, like I said, we're going to do a longer video where we get into more stuff and hear more of the many insights you have and experiences. But for now, what would you say is, you could say, what is one of the most important things just for a person to, how to live, what's most important to you?
What's most important to me is loving oneself first. Just being able to look in the mirror and say loving, kind words that are deserving, and having that resonate in the heart before sharing those views with others. And with that, a lot of curiosity, a lot of acceptance comes with that, and a lot of patience. Like it says, love is patient, love is kind. And I think that is above all the most important, and it starts with self.
All right. Okay, one last question. What is one thing, the simplest thing people can do to be mindful or helpful to the to people when they encounter people, or just even think of the community that's homeless or addicted?
Well, without overcomplicating the issue, without making the issue political, or who should do this and who could do that, what I would say the simplest thing an individual can do is to develop a one-on-one relationship with one individual that you think needs help. Somebody in your regular routine that you walk by, and maybe bring a sandwich or something, or whatever you're willing to let go without any condition. And just say hi, how are you doing? And make a friend. Basically make a friend with one person. The issue as a whole seems very overwhelming because we see it where we go, and we feel insecure not knowing and to not know what to do. But the thing that helped me the most were the people who stopped and said, how are you doing? And tried to get to know me a little bit. Even though it didn't happen right away, every one of those seeds were planted into my heart. And when you look at me today, and when I look at myself today, I don't see a junkie, I don't see an addict, I see a regular person who has hopes, wishes, and dreams. And when you see people out there when they're struggling, try to see a regular person behind that person. Because addiction has been registered as a disease since the 50s. So we have to look at it as though it's somebody with cancer, as though it's somebody with Alzheimer's. We gotta have that care and realize it's not a moral disease, that there's something more to it. So when we develop those one-on-one relationships, it lets them know that they're loved, that they're cared for, and it starts to eat away at the loneliness and isolation that they're trying to create for themselves.
All right. That is a great word to end on that we can all take to heart. And so thank you so much
You're
for
very
meeting
welcome.
me here today, and to be continued.
Absolutely.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Merry Christmas.